Hi guys, it's been a couple months since I took you around the garden in March when it was really ugly looking. I thought I would take a tour again and just see what is growing. It is actually no, it's June 4th. And let's see what's growing so far. So I'm going to start out the same direction as before. This is the concrete area that we are getting ready to put my son's pool up here. We'll be doing that probably this weekend. We go back behind the shed, and back here we have some shade, so I'm growing some greens. I have some tatsoi and some kale, perpetual spinach. This is a new bed I created this year using what's called the lasagna method, so I will be building on top of this every year. And we have some chard in here, a lot of flowers that are coming up, and more kale. In this end of the bed, I have some cucumbers, some nasturtium, and in the bed that hasn't sprouted yet, there's a bunch of cilantro and lettuce. Along this fence, I'm taking advantage of the chain link, and I have cucumber plants planted here. The soil underneath this cardboard is really rich. I've been just putting leaves and cardboard and different items to kind of build up the soil, and a few years ago this was all just rock with a lot of weeds growing, and we're turning it into a growing space. Along this fence here, mostly flowers. A lot of zinnias and daisies are coming up. You can see them. I also have volunteer pole beans, a lot of them. We'll just let them go. You can see right here. We'll let them go and climb up on the fence. We had a couple of boxes that were just pretty much rotten. So when we were planting these flowers, we just tore them up, and we're going to end up burning them. So right now they're just sitting in the pile, along with some tomato cages that haven't been used yet. Here's our compost area, which is going under a facelift here soon. I'm going to be making it into two separate areas so that I can transfer compost back and forth. But as you can see, I've used all the compost. It's down to the ground. I've used it all in the gardens this year. Okay, this back fence area, last time I made a video, was a bunch of shrubbery that was dead, and we were talking about digging it out. That was a long project. We took a few weeks digging out each of the stumps, and then I built up the soil using compost and some peat moss and some other materials that we had, like aged pine needles and leaves. And in this area, I'm making one long Three Sisters garden. So I have squash and corn and beans are all popping up here. Hopefully things will start filling in, and it's gonna look, I think, really nice back here. I will add sunflowers. There are some planted, the birds keep eating them. I will talk about that in just a second. Over here in the beds, I have watermelon and tiger melon planted in these hills, along with some flowers I put into the back. This bed has tomatillas, a jalapeno pepper, an Anaheim pepper, and then 2 tomato plants, and again lots of flowers, which you can see poking up. I had saved the seeds of a bunch of flowers last fall. It's just the easiest way to get tons of marigolds, and I can't remember what else I had put in here. It might have been more zinnias. This bed is a bunch of kohlrabi and some mustard in the back for the greens, so mustard greens. And I also planted some beets in there. I haven't seen them emerge yet, but I do have beets in there. Okay, so sunflowers have been really difficult for me. The birds just come and eat the seeds as quickly as I plant them. So I have a little sunflower nursery going on the patio here, and I covered it up with this material and then used a bucket to keep the material down. This is some kind of fencing I had found somewhere, I don't know. And then as the plants emerge and get stronger, I take them out from under that grid. And I'm hoping that once the sunflowers get big enough, I can just, either put the pot somewhere or transplant the whole thing. I don't know. I'm really just experimenting with sunflowers. I've never had a lot of luck with them between birds and cutworms. I have more over here covered up with this wire netting, and I'm just really trying to get all my sunflowers to sprout and work. You see I have gorgeous hostas back here. I love these hostas. They really fill in the space. Okay, and on the side garden, in my growing bags in a big pot here, I have 2 jalapenos and then an eggplant. Some flowers in the pots. Everywhere I have a pot, I put flowers. Green onions on the left here. 4 pepper plants. These are some really tasty peppers called lipstick peppers, and they're kind of like the little snack peppers that you get from the store. This bed is let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tomato plants, all different varieties. Can't wait until we start having lots of colorful tomatoes coming out of here. This onion I left. It was from last year. I decided to leave it, and I'll probably just, let the seeds seed themselves, because I love getting volunteer plants. So I'm just letting it go for now. And you can see there's a ton of marigolds. None of these were planted. They're all volunteers from previous years. Once you start growing marigolds, they're just amazing how they will just seed themselves year after year. I had so many marigolds, I transplanted some along with dill. I wanted to plant the tomatoes, and there was a lot of dill and marigolds, and I just decided to dig them up, put them in their own pot over here. I have some kind of flower, I don't know what. Like I said, I fill up every pot I can find with just whatever seeds I have on hand. My herb garden is looking good. A lot of oregano. The sage is flowering right now. And then behind here I have small rosemary plants, thyme, and then another basil plant. In this bed I have a bunch of radishes, which we planted kind of in succession. You can see we've already harvested one of the sections here, and it's kind of like in square foot sections, and we just harvest them as they mature. Behind it are snap peas, which I've been having a lot of trouble with. I keep planting them. The biggest one so far is right here. I'm trying to train it to climb, but the cutworms are getting them pretty bad this year. I keep having to replant. I have some volunteer, I think, cucumbers, because cucumbers grew here last year, and I'm just going to kind of let them go and see what happens. And here we have 4 more tomatoes, again, 4 different varieties. The marigolds I have here, I actually transplanted from that first bed of tomatoes and just dug out 3 clumps and planted them here. And anywhere I grow tomatoes, I grow marigolds. So it was easy enough just to dig them up, put them in here. And then in front of there, I planted a bunch of carrots. They haven't come up yet. So I have carrots in the front of there. And then I took a couple of the big pots I had so many tomatoes, I just needed to put them somewhere. So there's one here, and then around the front of the house, along with some pots that I need to clean up and put away, is another tomato plant. So that is June 4th in the garden. Things are greening up, but it will get bigger and more crazy as the summer goes on. So I will update you guys at some point. And I hope you're all out there growing and planting just like me.